Well, as you know, last Friday, parts of the state were hit by severe weather, including tornadoes.
So we wanted to know more about these storms and how they impacted Nebraska. So joining us now to break it all down is meteorologist Bill Rentschler. Bill, thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what happens is with this process is you have the local weather offices who are issuing all these tornado warnings, which there were a number of on Friday between the Hastings office and the Omaha office. And then they actually have to go out and survey the damage. They bring in experts, they look at damage indicators, what kind of damage was done, power lines down, shingles blown off roofs blown off, things like that. And they use these things to estimate the wind speed, and then that's how they end up giving the tornado its rating, which we use the enhanced Fujita scale to classify our tornado. So that's going from EF0 all the way to EF5, and each one has a different wind speed to go along with it. So if we can punch up the weather graphics, we can show you EF0, you're looking at wind speeds between about 65 and 85 miles an hour, so you're looking at minor damage. EF1 would also what we would call a weak tornado. Strong tornadoes, EF2 to EF3, so you're talking winds 110, upwards of 165 miles an hour, and violent tornadoes are EF4 to EF5, and again, you're talking winds 166 to over 200 miles an hour. And so what we saw a lot of on Friday was EF0, EF1, EF2, and EF3, and we'll dive in here. Going kind of chronologically, we had 12 tornadoes confirmed so far across parts of central into eastern Nebraska. 4 of them EF3, 2 of them EF2, 4 of them EF1, and then 2 of them are what we call EFU, or EF unknown, because they really didn't do any damage. So the first tornado touched down out in central Nebraska. This was northern Buffalo County, moving into parts of Sherman County, just near the Ravenna area, and it was given an EF1 rating, a max wind of around 90 miles an hour. At its widest point, it was about 175 yards wide. That circulation, that storm then continued to move to the north and northeast into Sherman County. This one is the Rockville tornado, also an EF1, max wind of around 105 miles an hour. It was on the ground for about 16 minutes. And then that storm continued to push to the north and to the northeast into parts of Howard County. So this is a tornado that touched down near Farewell, moved near the Elba area, and then just to the south and east of Coatesville. It was given an EF3 rating, 140 mile an hour max wind, and at its widest point estimated to be 600 yards wide. So 6 football fields wide, and that's just kind of hard to wrap your head around a little bit. So then it continued to chug along to the north and east, again into parts of Howard County. This is what we were calling the Walbach tornado, again passed just to the west of Walbach, crossing over Highway 281, an EF2 tornado, a max wind of 135 miles an hour on the ground for almost 10 miles, 880 yards wide at its widest point. So again, a very wide tornado. And then again, it lifted briefly, but then touched back down again just to the north of Walbach. This then crossed over into Boone County. So this is the Walbach Primrose tornado, an EF2 tornado. It was on the ground for just over 27 miles and on the ground for a little more than an hour. Then you go, this is one of the new ones we had put out some information this morning, EF1 tornado in Butler County, a little over 8 miles wide. There was also, you see the little black line just to the north and west of the end of that green line. That's one of those EFU tornadoes that touched down for just a brief period of time in the middle of an open field. Then you obviously had the tornado that happened in Lincoln, northeast Lincoln, moving up towards Waverly in EF3, some max wind of 158 miles an hour, so a high-end EF3 on the ground for 8.5 miles, 700 yards wide, and again was responsible for 3 injuries. The Elkhorn, Bennington, and Blair tornado also an EF3, but as high end of an EF3 as you can go, 165 mile an hour max wind, 1,600 yards wide at its widest point. And then we had the Epley tornado, also an EF3, and then the last one we had was just near Norfolk, an EF1 tornado on the ground for less than a mile, max width of around 100 yards. So 12 so far. We still may hear some more that come out. Again, the Weather Service is working very diligently over the past week while also dealing with the continued threat for severe weather we've seen over the past couple days.
Wow, that one by Bennington was huge.
1,600 yards. That's at its widest point. And that wasn't necessarily that wide the whole entire time, but it was a big tornado, one of the stronger tornadoes we've seen in the state of Nebraska.
All right. The images looked scary.
Yeah, and I want to say real quick, I know we're out of time, but a lot of people have been like, oh, that's an EF4, that's an EF5. They brought in a lot of experts who have surveyed numerous EF4 and EF5 tornadoes, and they said, no, this is a high-end EF3. For as bad as the damage is that we saw, it can get worse.
Well, like Pilger was an EF4, the twins.
It was
Yeah.
an EF4. There's
Okay.
only been one F5 tornado in the state of Nebraska. That was in 1964.
Where was that one?
That started out near Hastings, and then it lifted. It was in central Nebraska. It started out near Hastings.
Okay, good to know. Bradshaw.
Yeah, finished near the Bradshaw area.
Okay, good information, Bill. Thanks.
You're welcome.